Many thanks, Emily. Welcome, everyone. I'm delighted to be the moderator today. And we have quite a brilliant subject, actually, to present today, as we will be discussing about what are the keys to successful collaboration between innovative startups, SMEs, corporates, and academics. To answer that question, or to get quite close to it, we've got some very inspiring speakers, and I will present them. First, Marcel Blattner, your principal data scientist at Swiss Data Science Center, ETH Zürich. David Emmerth, you are co-founder at ImagineCargo. And Tilmann, you CEO at DPD Switzerland and startup ImagineCargo. Thanks very much for being here and taking part. Without further ado, I will start with some questions to get round to this subject. And if the audience has some questions, there will be a Q&A session at the end of this panel. Thanks very much. To start with Mr. Blattner, may I ask you to tell us what is your mission and how do you operate? Yeah. For instance, with the microphone, that would be indeed very good.
Okay, good. No, now it works. Great. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Yeah. So our main mission at the Swiss Data Science Center (ETH) is to help companies to leverage their full potential in their data science projects, meaning that we are kind of operating on the interface between academia and applicable industry solutions, let's say. But our primary goal is not to come up at the end of a project with a high quality publication, but with mostly a prototype, machine learning prototype, solving a strategic relevant challenge in the business. Yeah.
Okay. Indeed, that needs to be done. David Emmerth, would you say a word about what ImagineCargo is or does, and then share with us some experience you had trying to set up collaborations with corporates before you had the partnership with DPD?
Yeah, so we started ImagineCargo a couple of years ago because we wanted to address this, what we saw like changing consumer expectations in the delivery market, expectation for a bit more flexibility, personalized deliveries, speedy delivery, sustainability, all those topics. And we tried to do that by trying to leverage what we saw as, you know, abundant resources that were not yet used for this type of services, being all these small scale, fractured little enterprises in urban areas, mostly cargo, bike operators, but also operators of other smaller vehicles that were not really integrated in e-commerce delivery chains, mostly for technological reasons, but also purely for the distance from the big warehouses where these urban areas are. And so we built a platform to bridge those two problems. And when we started out, we tried to do that in our own name as an own carrier, operating a third-party logistics network. And so before we did this shift that eventually led to the partnership with DPD Switzerland, we didn't maybe try to set up collaborations in the classic sense that you might think of in this space, but I consider selling as a type of collaboration as well. So we did a lot of selling, as any startup probably does, with very positive and very negative experiences, and also fundraising, because we saw a lot of, you know, logistics company not yet in this space that were looking to move into this space, and we also had some positive and quite some negative experience as well, which I could consider type of collaboration as well, fundraising. Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, sure. But we will come back on that point as well later on. And Tilmann, your turn now.
Hello.
Hello. So as a CEO, what is your role and how does the collaboration evolve?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of DPD Switzerland. Very happy to see faces in real life today. I'm not the CEO of ImagineCargo, as we integrated their technology into our daily routine. So basically my job is simple. The idea is to create the conditions so that my people can perform their job in a good environment and reach their targets. It sounds simple. It's a little more complicated in real life, but it works well. And now to our collaboration with ImagineCargo, we started this end of Jan, beginning of Feb 2020. We all know what happened a few weeks after that. So basically, like probably all of you, we had a plan for 2020. And we had to change all the plans because it changed everything. And in our business, it means that the only way to for you to buy products was to go online, which triggered huge parcel to deliver to private people for companies like DPD and others. And that basically, you probably heard about the last mile challenge. It became even more challenging. And so what we did with ImagineCargo is that we used their experience in a much more operational way than we initially thought, because we worked with them to completely redesign all our operational processes to adapt to these new challenges, because it was mainly deliveries in urban areas, and about having too many vans in the city, about the CSR, about all that. So we changed a lot of operational stuff to facilitate all this and make it easier. Adaptation, I think, was the key word for all of us in the past 18 months.
So it's really being an enabler.
Exactly. We did things that we didn't expect, and we improved a lot also. Thanks, if I may say so, to the pandemic.
Yeah, different way to say it. Mr. Blattner, would you tell us a success story? Because we can see that the relationship is very much needed, but then until the success, it's a long way. So would you tell a story, a nice story, a successful one, please?
Yeah, I mean, we have many, of course, so I can pick one.
Sure.
Probably first a bit how we operate. So what we do basically is we always start with a real business case. So we help companies first of all to identify strategic relevant business cases. And these business cases or the cases we define typically are not solvable by, let's say, just standard methods. With the definition of those cases, we also ensure that at the end we deliver something which is sustainable, which is used by the company. We work together with different industry areas like financial, pharmaceutical, energy sector. And also we had a collaboration. There is also a nice small video online about that with Bühler in the area of die casting system. And what we did, we basically came up with a very nice new solution about how to design a cooling system for die casting processes, because one of the bottlenecks is that these die casted items, they have to cool down in a homogeneous way and as fast as possible in a way that there is no tension in the items. And what we did, we combined traditional optimization methods with machine learning based approaches and could deliver them process pipeline, how to design optimal cooling system for their die-casted parts, mainly used in the automotive industry. So, and it was nice because it was not a standard problem, and also the data scientists working on that project, they had to stretch quite a lot to come up with this nice solution. But I think that what we see is always that in our collaborations, we at the end, we have a huge payoff because we invest, I mean, we invest quite a lot of effort and time at the beginning to define those use cases. And sometimes companies, they are a bit impatient. They tell us, when do we start with the technology, when do we start with machine learning, but I think the bigger problem is to properly define those cases and to make sure that we really can bring value to those companies. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, the projects, they basically last at least 1 year, and we always assign at least one FTE to those use cases, and they exclusively work on those cases. So we do not share our data scientists between different projects, which is very nice because they really can have a deep dive into the problem to solve.
Okay, so it's all about preparation, really, before you get into the subject.
Yeah, and basically related to that, of course, there is a huge challenge very often, and this is related to siloing in huge companies, because our idea is always that we, at the end, we want to have a solution which can be scaled up across the whole company. And across different divisions, and sometimes, yeah, that's difficult because, because these siloing data are completely, stored in a different location, and different people own this data and things like that. So, yeah, but it's worth to go this journey, I think, because at the end, you benefit from a solid solution you can scale up in production.
Very effective then. Okay. Yeah. David, again to you. So you said about fundraising that that's a bit where collaboration started, but what about all the other areas until proof of concepts or business development or technical points?
Yeah, again, like when we started out, our main sort of discussion with corporates was purely sales. We just tried to sell them our service, and only when we started to switch our model to trying to essentially work with companies like DPD and not be their competitor, really, we got involved in this type of discussion where it's more about how can we set up technological collaboration and that kind of stuff to build products together, which is a completely different conversation from my experience to just selling, right? Because you need to talk to different people, and it's a lot harder. You need to overcome a lot more barriers. I think you are in the business of uncertainty, and big companies don't really like uncertainty. So you need to build a lot of trust and all this type of work. And I think it's really finding your audience within the company is the most important part, right? You need to find somebody who's willing to take the risk, who has decision-making authority, who has some budgets, all these things. In the case of DPD, for us, it was really a very pleasant surprise. It was extremely efficient. We had very few meetings. The process was extremely fast. And since we're working together, we have really maximum freedom and independency, and which is amazing. And before starting my own business, I was involved with the build-up of Kickstart Innovation. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. It's, I think, probably still the largest sort of, how should I say, exercise in Switzerland, specifically targeted at corporate startup innovation. It's a bit more in the high-tech or tech space, maybe more than in the service innovation space than what we've experienced together. And there as well, I've seen over and over again how easy it can be if you find the right person who has a lot of trust and willingness to take risk, and how hard it can be if you don't find this person within the company. So that's for me sort of the biggest takeaway is just getting there as quickly as possible, getting a no as quickly as possible also makes it a lot easier, and just then going for it once you have this sort of trustful personal relationship you really need in terms of more pilot proof of concept type of work.
Mm-hmm. So it's speaking the same language.
Yeah, absolutely. And just really a trusting relationship, I think, because really you are in this uncertainty type of environment. And it's not just like I sell you this product, this is the price, it's sort of a different conversation.
No, it's not on the same level. Thank you. Tilmann, then. How do you know you should collaborate or not with a company? Is it a matter of selection, preparation, trust? Is it something else?
It used to be when I was younger.
So yesterday, okay.
Thank you, I love you. Now it's intuition. Einstein said that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, when the rational mind is its faithful servant. And it added that we created a society where we value the servant and forgot about the gift. I didn't. So I base my decision on intuition, and that's what we did with you guys, coupled with a little bit of experience, obviously. And the first question I asked myself is, are these people compatible with us? You know, it doesn't mean we are the best, and you can be compatible with us, but not with other corporate cultures. But that is very important. And at the end of the day, the decision is more, I would always go for a less talented person who fits to our environment versus a brilliant mind, which, you know, human profile might at some point become toxic for my people. So yes, God's feeling and intuition is what I rely on. And I don't know if I'm a good CEO, but I'm quite good at building teams with people who fit together. And I think what you just mentioned, it reflects it a little bit. And it's not about me, it's because we are not working together on a daily basis. And the freedom you mentioned is you have a team that is around you. And I hear from everyone that the trust is there and that it's easy to work with. So we found people who are easily collaborating.
Okay, Marcel, your turn now. So in terms of, in your position in academics, what is the biggest challenge to work with corporates, with large or small ones?
Yeah, I can mention probably two challenges not related to technology at all. So the first one is, let's call it innovation theater. So in many companies, you find this kind of innovation. They pretend to be innovative, but innovation is always somehow entangled, I mean, real innovation with kind of different risks you took compared to the risks you took in the past. And many companies are not really prepared for this kind of discussion. So, I mean, we do applied research, and the idea is not, you know, to do basic research where you end up with a paper, as I said, but with something you can use. But still people, I mean, there are still, you know, highly, yeah, I mean, components in it which are uncertain. We cannot upfront always know what will work and what will not work. And what we see sometimes is that companies, they try to push for a, you know, very strict project plan, as you would, let's say, have a traditional IT project where you just buy a bunch of servers or something like that. And some companies, they struggle with this uncertainty. And I think what has been said here in the panel before, it's also, yeah, about trust when a collaboration then really starts. So it's not a one-way show, so that companies, they approach us and they want to work with us. We have to be kind of convinced that we as a team with them together can somehow yeah, create a nice useful solution. So I think that many companies do not really think about on a cultural basis what it means to be real innovative, and about the risks which comes with those journeys when you try to do real innovation. And the second challenge is, I mean, very often companies are, I mean, we approach one specific division, but then at the end, what we want is to give also some strategic added value, in a sense that what we do can be used across different divisions. or that also educational wise that people in the on the sea level understand what is the potential of this kind of technology we develop. And I think so this expectation management sometimes is difficult. So because many non-technical people, they get their knowledge, let's say, from mass media, and many things written in mass media and published in mass media are simply, yeah, it's a bit bullshit very often, honestly. And so sometimes it's quite a challenge to do the right expectation management, that to make clear what can be expected when we do machine learning based solutions. What does it really mean? So, but when people understand, then yeah, so the chances are good that we as a team together with them can create something useful for the company.
It's also a definition about innovation. What is innovative? I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking, I mean, of course, you can do this kind of innovation where you just improve products step by step. So this increase, I mean, by little steps, but that's, I mean, probably you increase the quality of a product in that sense, but it's not real innovation, right? So real innovation means you break things in your company on a cultural level, on a technological level, infrastructure and so on. And I think that many companies are not really prepared for that. So they don't have the, you know, probably the view what it really means to break things and to take these kind of risks. So it's yeah, but it's of course understandable. I mean, if you are a company and you have a lot of success, you have your customers, and of course your primary goal is to satisfy those customers. But that doesn't mean necessarily that you're innovative, right? So just to make a new release of a product is not per se innovation.
Mm-hmm. It's not disruptive.
Yeah, yeah, it's not disruptive. I didn't want to use that
It needs
term,
to be said
yeah,
at least 3 times a day.
It's correct. Yeah, exactly.
David, what's the balance between gut feeling, knowledge, experience? I know you're very, very, very young, but I mean, with all that, and also including work, obviously.
It's I don't know what to say. I mean, I guess experience feeds gut feeling, probably. In our situation, I think over time we got a lot better in understanding if we're talking to the right person relatively quickly. So in that sense, gut feeling was important. And again, I think you only get there by just trying over and over again.
It's a mix of everything, and it gets the trust. Once you've got the trust as well, that's so it gets back to the the first things you said. In your company and also in this collaboration, what role plays corporate culture?
A key role, obviously. Our company, our group is very much into, or culture is very much into working with startups for a long time already. So DPD Group has a good track of experience. I think last year we collaborate throughout Europe with close to 20 startups to scale up innovation, mainly on the topic sustainability, green deliveries, last mile challenges in the cities. So that is very important. And I think the biggest danger when you start working with a startup or collaborating with a startup is the culture clash. I assume if we would have tried to squeeze you guys into our processes and culture, it would have been a little more complicated, and probably you wouldn't be sitting here anymore because you wouldn't have felt integrated. I mean, we're here for 5 years now in Switzerland, and we have been supporting startups ever since, because I'm fascinated by entrepreneurs, which I'm not. So we have a good track of record there. And what I observed a lot is corporates that started to work with startups, and all of a sudden the founders left. And this is terrible, because then you lose the know-how, you lose the experience, you lose the people who built the solution, the technology, the platform that you want to use. So I think this is the most important thing you have to do, and this you do with your culture. Well, given you are with Wille still here after 1.5 years, we did quite a good job, at least until now.
So it's really the corporate culture in that case is really the why, this collaboration. It does give the sense to it.
It does give the sense. I mean, they cannot, I mean, the startup cannot adapt 100% to a corporate culture, because what made them agile, smart, fast is, just to give an example, because they don't use SAP, which is over-engineered for a startup, for example. So that is an important point to me indeed.
Needs to be adaptable as well. Thank you. Marcel, how to translate abstract concepts like innovation, or for instance, into business relevant solutions? So from the imagination to the real world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a highly, I mean, it's highly based on discussions and brainstorming with our collaborators, industry partners. So sometimes it's the industry partner has quite a already a nice idea what he wants, and that's a good basis. But sometimes the idea is very vague, and we have to help them to shape these kind of ideas. Now, I mean, the abstraction at the end, as I said before, we always start with the business and the use case. And the abstraction at the end is not during that discussions, but when a data scientist starts, of course, we help in our discussions. We help the companies to see what is possible at all and what is wish thinking. But our collaborations are not like then. We have this kind of abstraction, so we could formulate a problem in a way that we can program a machine to solve it, and then we disappear for 6 months, and then we come back and provide a solution. And in between that, the strategy of the company had changed at all. So what we do is that our data scientists assigned to those projects, they are basically working very tightly with the teams in the companies. We also provide on-site the possibility that people of the companies, they come on-site when it's possible after COVID again, working with us, or that data scientists working on the project, they really go to the companies to work together with the team. So, I mean, the abstraction at the end, or this, it's a huge process. And it's really based on the exchange of ideas given by the companies and challenged by us, and vice versa. Okay, thanks.
David, do you have someone dedicated really to the collaboration? How are you organized for this collaboration?
Well, the specific now or in the past, you mean?
Both?
Well, in the past, no. I mean, we were quite chaotic about it. Maybe you can say that's a positive thing, maybe not. But like, I mean, we were a small team, and selling, getting money is just what keeps you alive. So besides from the tech, the CTO, everyone was hustling around all day long, trying to, you know, make such projects become real. And right now it's my business partner and me, right? So this what we're talking about here is we sold our technology to DPD Switzerland, and a lot of the German team and the German operations at that time, you know, was shut down. So now it's mainly my Swiss business partner and me who manage the integration of the technology, but it developed really into a lot more, working on all sorts of strategic innovation projects, mostly in the operations area. Yeah, right now we're just really, my business partner and me are just doing this day in, day out. And in the past, it was just everyone was trying to do that, make it happen. I guess we could have been more structured about it, but that was our style.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's an advice to some startups that they should dedicate someone to that?
No, I don't know. I think don't let people do it who are not good at it, you know. But if everyone's got some talent for it, then at least for us, it was just so important. Like, I mean, that's what really keeps the business going. Is generating some sort of traction, be it on the business side, on the fundraising side. So, of course, it wasn't the most pleasant type of work. I meet hardly or randomly you meet people who love this type of work. You keep knocking on doors and, you know, keep telling the same story and hearing the same reasons why it's a bad idea over and over again. But I think it's so vital that you should put all the effort into this work as much as you can, really. And
as far as you can go. Right. So, Tilmann, we just heard David said it's all about money. So how much does it cost to collaborate in terms of resources, but then some ideas in cash as well?
I think money is not the trigger here. I would rather talk about humility, because you always have to come back to the initial reason why we've been interested in these guys and their technology. Why did we think about collaborating with you? Well, in that case, because we found bright people who addressed a problem, found a good solution that I would like to offer to my customers. So why would I change this? So basically, coming back to this humility, it takes more time and energy than real money, and the most important, confidence in the founders of the startup, because these are the guys who made this happen, and we know how tough that is. Now it's me. Well, want to take part. Yeah. New startup going with a little bees or something. So yeah, humility and confidence, I think, are the key words here.
More than money, right? What a big lesson. From your point of view, Marcel, how to help really industry benefit for the corporates, thanks to the data scientists, and so how to get that working together and create value.
Sorry, how that works, or how? I didn't get the question, sorry.
How to get these findings and the all these innovation to really benefit the industry and vice versa. How to emulate and get that together. Ah,
okay. Yeah, I mean, so I can describe how we conduct a project, for example. Then
for example,
yeah,
yes.
that probably. Yeah, what we, as I said, I mean, we start with the use case. When the use case is defined, then we basically try to come up with, in short cycles, with partial solutions of what we want to what we want to solve. And typically in a project, we don't have only one use case, but we have several, and one or two of them probably are really, let's say, high risky, because the company doesn't want to try to make it internally because they do not really have the skills, or it's really explorative in a way that they even don't know how to use it after all. I mean, yeah, this kind of use cases is not the only one then, but it could be that the company is really willing to take these kind of risks. So, I mean, to at the end, to be innovative, I think it's also a kind of it's not that we basically start doing something and then something innovative comes out. So it's, as I said before, so it's an iterative process also with the companies. And once we had a case where basically our solution was really ahead of what the company was seeking for, and then after 1 or 2 years, we asked, what about another year together? And then they told us that first they have to digest what we did and to think about how to monetize what we did. I mean, it's not that we did something random, but we really just overshooted what was expected. So I'm not sure that innovation can be done in a way that, you know, that you start a day and, you know, okay, when I ending up at Omega, then I have something innovative. So it's a never-ending process, I guess. And what we basically help companies really just to trigger this kind of processes, and also probably to help them think a bit, yeah, I wouldn't say outside the box, but to create new boxes where they can think in.
So you'd add the boxes to their mind instead of
right. New boxes, create new boxes and think in those new boxes.
So David, you seem quite happy about the current situation. Would you give advice to startuppers to get to that point?
Yeah, I will have to use like a startup evergreen here, which I normally don't like disruptive and other things, but like really the focus on the problem thing, be it in selling, be it in trying to set up POCs or other things, is really just understand really what is the problem of the potential partner you're trying to solve. Like, it sounds trivial, but it's actually not really. And because when you get there, when you can speak this language to the person sitting next to you, you have a common understanding. I think and then the actual selling or signing a deal or whatever is a lot easier. But getting there is really hard. So really focus on the problem. Always be open about your solution to change it in small ways, in big ways, whatever. Never stick to it just because you think it's good. Yeah, one big takeaway I also have is, if you're fundraising and you're speaking to a corporate investor, and this company, and it's something that happened to us once. So, and this company does not invest out of a corporate venture fund, but just merely off the balance sheet. And this decision is managed by people who have zero understanding of how venture financing works. That's a big alarm sign. If you ever get into that situation, then make sure you ask your party to engage an advisor with a lot of venture financing experience, because it can go really badly. It did in our case once. Yeah, these are two takeaways.
Excellent, thank you. Tilmann, perhaps a last question about, so it's all about trust, humans. So as a wrap-up, it's really a human problem, collaboration, to make it successful.
Always. Trust is at the foundation of everything we did, or we do at DPD in Switzerland. When I took over 5 years ago, we decided to trust each other from day one. Just because I believe that if I trust my neighbors and I have an issue to solve, I will easily go and ask them to support, because they're not going to judge me. They're going to help me, even if it's not their comfort zone or their expertise. And that works both ways also. So trust is indeed very important. I would also add that it's not sufficient, at least at DPD, because we also figured out that we need to empower our people. And that is also very important on a daily basis, so that they know that they work, you know, that they take initiatives. And to do so, we gave them the freedom to make mistakes. Because if you're afraid of being blamed by your boss or the boss of your boss or the boss of the boss of your boss, when you make a mistake, you just do exactly what you've been told. You never go out of this zone. So that helped us a lot, by the way, during this pandemic, because all of a sudden, we have more than 1,000 people in the company, including our drivers. Everybody was scattered around the country, you know, either home office or in the delivery vans. And that was a challenge that you probably all faced. How do I manage my people, you know, by distance? And this trust and this empowerment led to having crews who just grabbed it and just, you know, have a decision to make, whatever my responsibility or my salary is. And as I know, I don't have to ask and get the green light from my boss, and there's a customer waiting, so I'm doing it. So obviously we made some mistakes, never made twice the same, because we learned from it and we improved. But at the end of the day, we went through the crisis in a much smoother way than I ever imagined, thanks to this trust / empowerment that we allowed to our people. And this also reflects what you were saying before, this freedom that you have, and you don't have to fill in 25 forms and get 25, you know, green tick box to take a decision and move on. And especially in the world of the startups, you know that these guys are 10 times, X times faster than we as corporates. So if we slow them down, you'll have another startup who's going to take the place and the lead, and yeah, and then you lost.
Yeah, you lose the leverage.
Indeed.
Many thanks for these questions. Now it's not over, actually. You're going to have some more questions, and we wait for your questions in the audience. And I think that the person who will be leading this Q&A session is Maria. So I leave the floors to Maria.
Is there anything online? No. Everything is crystal clear. Anybody in the audience want to ask a question?
Hello, thanks for all your words. It's Max Ruffo from Therapy. I have 30 to 50 questions, so I'll ask only the first one for the moment and pass the microphone. It sounds like there is a relationship going on, which is very good, strong, and positive. And I'll split the question into one is if Marcel is also involved in this relationship or not, since you are the three of you there together, or if it's a two-way relationship and one with another story. And the second question is, you described it very well. Everything is very positive. You gave us good vibes, but the devil is always in the details. So you both talk in a way like it just happened. And it was hard in the beginning, and then the marriage happened and it was good. So my question is one layer deeper is, you know, relationship can mean lots of things, from the first one that David mentioned, which is just sell, so client-customer relationship, to something else. I understand it evolved in something else, but what is exactly, what is the contract saying? You know, it's been an acquisition, it's been an investment, it's been, so do you in ImagineCargo have other customers? Do you work with their competitors? What is your evolution as a company? Are you uniquely serving DPD now? And you know, you're almost englobated and ready for an acquisition. So I'd like to understand what can you describe that relationship one layer deeper?
Yeah, I can try. I leave some of the specific questions to you, Tilmann. I don't know what can really be disclosed, but what it is, we sold our technology exclusively to DPD Switzerland, and so we don't operate our own business anymore. The reason why we sold the technology and not the actual company is compliance reasons. My understanding, an equity deal is a lot harder to do within the let's say, decision hierarchy as well of the DPD group, which is a really, really big company compared to DPD Switzerland. So yeah, we sold our platform to DPD Switzerland. It has been integrated, well, not fully yet, because, well, nothing's ever fully integrated, right? There's always stuff you can do and new features and stuff. But our platform is being used to connect DPD to all these resources that I mentioned in the beginning, these urban, small-scale urban, mostly cargo bike, but also other smaller electric urban delivery vehicles. And this is a very, how should I say, I missed the word in English. These players are everywhere, right? But usually they're technologically really, really underserved. And our platform makes it quite easy to integrate these players into delivery chain, which is what is happening now within DPD Switzerland through our technology. And so the relationship is a exclusive deal between the DPD Switzerland and my company, which still exists as a shell now, where all the assets have been bought out. And as I mentioned before, the whole working relationship developed into a lot more than just what was initially the goal, the integration of this platform. Usually these deals come with some sort of consulting agreement on top, right? And the consulting agreement originally was quite narrow, integrating this platform and you know, a few details. And now we are really sort of working on any strategic innovation topic in most the operations side of DPD Switzerland. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, we figured out along our path that their experience and what they have developed with their technology could also help solving some of the new issues or challenges that popped up during the pandemic. So yeah, just to back this up, we're doing much more than we initially thought. And how cool would it be if our partnership in Switzerland, I was in Paris last week with all the CEOs of the group. We have close to 30 BUs in Europe. If it works in small Switzerland comparing to the EU, maybe we're going to make some trips to Paris or to other BUs that might be interested in a Swiss best practice also.
And maybe, of course, you know, not everything is golden, right? I mean, I do have to say I still stick by, and I'm not here to please Tilmann or, you know, pat him on the shoulders or DPD or whatever, but even going back to my time at Kickstart, I've seen a lot of difficult collaborations between corporate and startups, cultural clash, contractual issues, and really a lot of aspects. And we've really had a pleasant experience in the sense that, like, we've have maximum freedom to really do whatever we want, more or less. However, of course, especially on the IT side, there are some frustrations because things take longer than expected, as always. You know, like, so, you know, there are these types of frictions if you want. But purely on a personal level, and it's been a really pleasant experience.
And by the way, we're meeting Marcel for the first time today, so
yeah, I'm the statistical outlier.
Another question? Anyone? Yes.
Hi, my name is Samuel Half from Kettle. My question is specifically for Marcel, but maybe David and Tilmann also have their insights on the topic. You mentioned convincing companies to jump on board and to invest time and money into a project, and also managing expectations. Can you tell us a bit more about finding the balance in this kind of difficult exercise?
Yeah, so I think that you shouldn't try to balance, you should just be honest. And I mean, that's the thing we try to do. So when a company is approaching us, or when we think we can bring value to a company and we approach people there, we make really clear what are the boundary conditions we need to work successfully together. First, and secondly, we also are brutally honest what is possible and what is not possible, because it's really sometimes astonishing what kind of wish thinking people have, what should be possible with, let's say, machine learning methods. And there we are just honest. And sometimes this leads to a kind of a disappointment in the first moment when they realize, okay, first of all, it's not magic. And secondly, not everything is possible. But because we are honest, then many companies, they decide to work with us because they know exactly what they can expect. I think expectation management is you know, of course, you should never negate somehow that something which now is not possible could be possible in the future, but because we want to carry out those use cases now and not in 20 years or whatever, yeah, one just should be brutally honest, and that is what we try to do. And that's also sometimes it's really also we have the situation that companies after the first, let's say, deeper discussions, we both decide not to go or not to take the journey together because either it's not possible what they wanted, or it's very hard to, you know, to give the right expectations, and also that these expectations are really understood by the company, that they are clear to and prepared that also something can go wrong, right? I mean, it starts, for example, really just by simple things to get the right data. So people very often they have the image in mind that, yeah, it's easy. I just throw a bunch of data to a machine and then something magically happens and something useful comes out. But it's very hard to shape the data in the right format and everything, that you have a quality solution at the end when you use machine learning, for example. So there it's simple. We do not try to manage a balance. We just are honest, and that's sometimes shocking for the companies because they have really a different idea what should be possible and what not.
Maybe I can add one thing to that. Again, from my experience at Kickstart, I think we try to do similar things that you describe, really manage sort of the process of these collaborations, more like in the deep tech space. And one of the things we did was really focus on the contractual thing, because we've seen, especially corporates who have had not so much experience, they tend to ask for too much in contracts when it comes to exclusivity and that kind of stuff, which might be counterintuitive. But unless you are willing to, you know, keep the company alive, such clauses in contracts can also kill companies. So if there are any representatives from corporations here, my advice would be, when it comes to contractual expectation management, like be a bit easy on the exclusivities and all that kind of stuff, because yeah, if you then step out and not decide to go on with this particular startup, then they might be left with a very, very unfavorable clause in the contract that can even be a reason for investors not to invest, and all sorts of things downstream.
Well, I better not comment statements from a data scientist professor from ETH, not to make a fool out of myself. So I'm not going to add a word here.
Okay,
I'm not I'm not a professor, just to correct.
But I still stick to my previous statements.
Thanks very much. So we had a very interesting conversation about this subject regarding collaboration. So it's not really a conclusion that we'll make, it's more about a philosophy. We've heard about trust, people, honesty, less so about money. So I will leave that. I will leave you with that and hand over to Florent.